So this first piece is a flash fiction. It's an episodic flash, so there's several little parts to make up the whole. And it's from the point of view of one of the characters from my country noir / Midwestern Gothic novel. So it's called The Great Escape of Tammy Daniels. The Loving Sister. You'll stay in the back room here, Tilda said. She flipped the switch and a white ceiling fan turned. The room was lilac with a ruffled daybed. Not my style, but nice. Tilda, I can't thank you and Jimmy enough for taking me in. I'd still be dealing meth in those hills if you hadn't answered your phone. I just knew you'd be a doll face like when we was kids. I'll do you right at the restaurant, don't you worry. You got yourself the best new waitress in town. A new man come along. I was finishing my shift when Rex walked in with trashy Pam. Biggest belt buckle I ever seen. How's the special, he asked. Everybody loves the meatloaf sandwich. In that case, we'll take 2, sweetheart, he said. Pam glared, but I didn't pay her no mind. When she was paying the ticket up front, he caught me in the back hall near the restrooms, pushed me tight against the wood panel wall and looked at the name badge pinned over my left tit. Tammy, I'm giving you my number, and you're gonna call me. I nodded and he kissed me like a horny high school boy. I took the number. I called. Kid stuff. After Dad ran off, it was just me and Tilda and Mom. We had fun, but I wondered about Dad. Oil rigs in Texas, fishing boat out of New Orleans, shop clerk in Colorado Springs. Think of all the folks he must have met over the years, all the new stories he must have heard. I'm not saying I wasn't mad, but some sick way deep inside I admired him, because I knew what it was like to be stuffed up in that small town life, doing the same things every day, seeing the same people, making the same how's the weather talk, and he got out. He loved us, I know he did, but he loved his freedom too, and he stood up for it. He knew people would spit on his name, and he still left. So I guess I figured him brave. And I never shook that itch neither. I suppose people will feel about me like they did him. The confession. The law is after me, Rex said. I pulled my skirt hem down and sat up, smoothed the Indian blanket over the grass and squinted into the night sky. What for? Out of Kansas. They say I killed my girl. She was beat to death. He took a slug from a silver beer can. Did you do it? Don't remember that night. Whole thing's a blur. Never hit no woman before. I loved her. I took his hand and placed it under my shirt, over my heart. Ramblin' fever. Tilda, I'm leaving town. In fact, I'm gone now. I know he's nothing like Jimmy or any of them boys you always went for, and don't take offense to this, nothing against you, but I'd just as soon shrivel up and die than play house with some pretty boy that goes off to the office every morning and plays golf weekends, or some such. Remember Dad's favorite song? I hope you'll find a way to understand. Love always, Tammy. First memory. Daddy's tossing me into the air and then catching me, a little higher each time. I'm wearing my red velveteen dress and white tights. Christmas time. He thinks I'm laughing, but I'm gasping for air. My tummy is funny, like I'm gonna puke or pee or die. I land in his big hands, start to protest, but then I'm up again, eyes fluttering, trying to breathe. Skipping out. I grabbed my suitcase. Rex was waiting in the back alley. I yanked open the door and Merle Haggard's voice rang on the night air. Where'd you get the truck? Don't worry about it. We'll ditch it once we cross the state line. You'll bring the cash? I nodded and patted my purse, where a big wad of tip money was tucked into the pocket. Fate. I just gotta pee real quick, I said. Get your ass back to this car in 4 minutes or you're dead, you hear me? Rex took a bite of bacon cheeseburger and chewed. Grease dribbled down his chin. I ran inside the rest stop, dug in my jean shorts for change at the payphones next to the ladies' room. Shit, short by a quarter. You all right, miss? A lanky man in a trucker hat and overalls looked down at me, his brow creased. No wedding ring, that was good. Young, too. He'd do for now. The name's Tammy. Don't suppose you need some company in that rig of yours. Deja vu. Shayna ran off for the first time on her 17th birthday. She came back after a couple weeks and I asked her why she'd done it. She said all them stories I told her about my own mistakes seemed more like fun than trouble. Mom always warned me that someday I'd have a daughter to stir up worry, a punishment for all the torment I put her through. I guess Shayna will have to learn for herself that family is the only constant in this world. Ain't no man to change that fact. flash fiction here. It's called By His Order. 3 men came in the night. One held a lantern and another pinned Josiah's arms while the third attacked. Salome screamed but did not act. No woman could interfere with the work of men. Candlelight glinted off the shears as they snapped again and again until Josiah's long beard was shorn. Josiah had heard of such humiliations. Congregants had warned him that Bishop Buckley didn't approve of his business practices. Selling wares in Philadelphia required time amongst outsiders, and the bishop frowned upon occasions that might lead to worldly temptations. I know who they are. I saw them by the light of the lantern. A good man would not seek retribution, Salome said, but I have been shamed. It cannot stand. He was housebound without his beard. To appear in public would only compound his family's disgrace. Josiah could not remain passive in this attack on his honor. He retrieved the wooling shears from the barn. Salome refused to cook dinner until he put them away, so he spent the next 2 nights on the hay-covered floor of a horse stall, sharpening the blades as he planned the recompense of his enemies. On the 3rd night, his well-hung tools were missing. Salome had learned his plans and aimed to stop him. He waited until she left for the women's Bible study and searched her sewing kit. He found the shears among her quilting supplies and hid them under his pillow. There was little talk at dinner, both husband and wife aware of the danger to come and unable to redirect the course. Josiah prayed for a sign. He lingered at the window until a cloud obscured the harvest moon before he slipped into the night. He decided to spare the men who had executed the cruel act. He wanted the leader to pay, for it was by his order that Josiah had been degraded. Bishop Buckley was the true perpetrator. Josiah pressed the old man into his bed sheets and held up the shears. The bishop spoke only once before the first cut. "Sinner," he hissed. Quiet oppressed Josiah's mind as he stared into the bishop's watery eyes. His tools clipped life into the room, and each cut of the long horse beard felt like a punch. Neither man flinched. Josiah walked home as dawn lit the horizon, hopeful for a new beginning. He waited for satisfaction to fill his being. Instead, a proliferation of shame grew in his heart, where it resided for the rest of his days. And I just have one left, and it's just a short microfiction piece. This is the one that was published on Hoot. So if you guys want to look at it online, that's what it is. It's called In the Woods. Sheila tried to convince her friends at recess to go along. "See, that's where they hide, in the trees behind the playground. Those are their bears. They're watching, waiting to take us away. What will we do?" She pointed to a couple half-empty brown bottles in the grass. The girls standing nearby shrugged and walked toward the monkey bars. She stood alone and kicked the dirt. Other kids never understood her games. Sheila wished there were strange men in the woods to steal her, hide her in a far-off cottage. They could read her fairy tales, and she would show them how to catch fireflies in glass jars and to use as night lights. Together they would plant a rose garden that bloomed pink the year round, forever.